Tell us about your story before being entrepreneurs. What were you planning? What were you dreaming of? What plans did you have after graduating high school and then choosing a career that eventually led to you both working in a banking system? How did you see the road ahead?
Well, my life, my previous life is a big mess. I mean, there's nothing that you can sequence somehow to say I started like this and then I evolved. Or no, first I was playing rugby in the high school, and I wasn't very much into schooling. And in the first instance, I failed at the university, and I went into the army. And then from the army, I got into the AC, and I started the university. That was not really a university, because only the first 1 year and a half I've been studying, and then I started as an entrepreneur. I went to a competition in Italy, and I came back with some money, and then I invested that money. It was 25,000 lei, the capital, and I started this wine distribution business. But mainly I wanted to be like my father. There was no other ideal. So just to be like my father, to have the same. My father was an economist, was a contable chef at Murfatlar. That's why I started with wine distributor. And then after I finished school with no problems, because that wasn't a real school. I mean, I don't want to offend anyone, but I say it's not a school. If you just go to school, you have to do something about it. And I created CVM, a brokerage agency. And I took money from everyone, and I somehow invested in the stock exchange. It was I don't know, we were the 20th CVM brokerage house at the stock exchange. And there were those times with the certificate de acționar. And we traded those. We opened all kind of points around the city, and it was, as I said, a big mess, but somehow a very good school, because now I think I learned a lot from those times. Then the company was bought by National Bank of Greece by coincidence, total coincidence, after 1.5 years of due diligence, and I got for it $90,000. But it wasn't all dollars, it was half dollars and half my car that I took it back. And then in the end I said, I'm gonna leave, I can't work with you, I don't wanna work with you anymore, and I'm gonna go and be a branch manager at ABN AMRO in Constanța. And then they said, okay, we're going to give you only half of the money. I mean, I left them the car, and I took the money. And this is how I started the banking career in 99, that actually had a duration of 10 years, and that was it. And then after 10 years, I left Andrei doing banking in Banca Transilvania, and I built somehow a clinic. I went into hospital business. And from there, I met again Andrei. I mean, not that I met him, because we kept the relationship very active all the time. And we decided in 2018 to start what we started right now. So this is my story in a nutshell, because otherwise it's a mess, as I told you. It's nothing clear.
Where did you first try to go to the university?
But I said the same.
The same one?
Same one, yeah. I told you I wanted to be like my father, so there wasn't any other aim.
Then I will start with the kindergarten. So I remember only two things when I was anticipating my future when I was, let's say, a junior. One potential future for me was in the sound
engineering.
Maybe you are more familiar with it. But it came from the parties that I organized before Ceausescu's, when the Ceausescu regime was quite blocking every party, and the music I got from different sources from Germany, because I was born in Sibiu and there were a lot of links with Germany there. And because I got this source of foreign music, I was also the one organizing parties when the parents were out. And that was the main one. The other one was to become an ambassador. And at a certain point, I realized that you have to be very linked with the system, and I was furious about the regime at that moment, and I canceled this plan. And finally, when discussing with my family, one of my aunts is economist. She used to work for a while at the Ministry of Finance, and she told me about banking. What about a banking career? And the trigger to me was that I will be able to meet a lot of people, a lot of projects, a lot of idea, and that was the motivation to go to the banking world. And finally, I made ASE as well.
But I didn't know about the ambassador. You were a very good ambassador.
Yeah, but that regime was not enough promising for me to become an ambassador of Ceausescu.
These days, that would be a very good idea for you.
And then I attended the same ASE, the Faculty of Finance and Banking, and everything was fine. But when I graduated, the banking system in Romania was composed of 3 or 4 banks, all state-owned, and I made a lot of lobby to try to access one of them, and I was lucky that one of my also an uncle, but not a direct connection with him, was working for BRD at that moment. And after 6 months of bringing to him, actually to his colleagues, different products from Sibiu, the famous cheese and slanina from Sibiu. I don't know the English, but the foreign people maybe have tasted the gourmet of Sibiu. And then after 6 months, I succeeded to be hired by BRD. In a very special environment. I was colleague with 30 old ladies in the main hall of BRD, where they were serving clients. And then after a while, I think after 1 year, it was privatized, and it was bought by Société Générale, and a different perspective. And when ABN AMRO opened the branch in Sibiu, I already had 3 years of experience with BRD, and I chose to go back home in Sibiu and work for a big international bank, opening a branch there. And that's how we met in ABN AMRO. And then I was more stable in the banking system after I moved to Banca Transilvania, I think 3 years after, with the team that left ABN AMRO and got the different management positions in a small local bank at that moment, Banca Transilvania. And that's the history was written with BT, now the most important bank in total assets, not only in Romania, but also in Southeastern Europe. And I was there for 15 years. And what was enough after 15 years. And we started this journey. I only knew when I left banking that I want to cover a different sector that I was not covering or knowing too much from the banker's shoes. And that was the IT sector, the tech sector. And that was the inception of the new journey.
Do you regret not following other paths now looking back?
Not really, no. I was lucky enough to meet a lot of people that I was trying to get the best of their, let's say, experience and approach. Maybe I was also just thinking, and I'm still thinking from time to time, what other, let's say, path could also put me in the position to help more. And I'm not sure. Probably being a doctor would be such a with some much added value for the environment and for the let's say network that you have. On the other hand, I was not. I don't think I'm skilled for this kind of for being a medical doctor. So I think I'm lucky with my journey so far.
Now that you mentioned the medical doctor thing,
you missed it.
I missed it because while I was deputy CEO at Banca Transilvania, I went 1 year to the medical university in Cluj, and when I entered into the room the first time into the school class, everybody stand up. And I said, no, I'm your colleague, I'm not the professor. They were laughing. No, I don't believe you. No, please believe me. This is the way I'm dressed because I'm coming from work, but this is what I am. I mean, I have to look with you at the corp, so this is it. But that took only 1 year. I went into the second year. I took all the exams except one, biophysics. And then I created the Banca pentru Medici. And that was somehow the root of going to Regina Maria for a year and going there then and establishing the Brain Institute. And but somehow, my life is split in two. The first part of it, until I got to Banca Transilvania, was influenced 100% by my father. Not only that I wanted to be like him, but I wanted to prove him that I'm better than he is. And I think this is happening with all the boys and fathers. But everything I did was for that reason. And then the click was when I got divorced. And when I got divorced, I broke the relationship, the parent-son relationship, and I said, you know what? I don't do what you want anyway, so I can do whatever I can do. And then I started to do this medicine thing and to get away from the finance, which was my focus and the best thing that I knew to do. And somehow, if you ask me now if I regret, I can say that I regret that I haven't done all the time what I knew. But on the other hand, I didn't know that this is to be done. So nobody told me, look, do this because this is what you know and you're gonna be successful here. And I said, why not trying to be a doctor? Why not trying to do medicine? I mean, why not trying to do all kinds of other things? But again, nobody tells you from the beginning things about life, things about love, things about relationships, things about focus. You have to learn them by doing them and making mistakes. So yeah, I regret a lot of mistakes that I've done in my life, but somehow I don't think that I could have done it differently. So it doesn't matter if I regret or not, because this is my life anyway.
I remember now that I also have a source of regret of being too much stable in the banking system. So 20 years is too much.
This is my regret.
And probably, if I was to decide again, I was making I would have made a change earlier in order to. I think we are the sum of different experiences as humans that we have during a limited cycle, a limited life cycle. So I would experiment and try to learn from how many different sources as possible.
Tell us a bit about your work in the banking system. Was it difficult? Was it challenging? Did you like it? I mean, you stayed for a while there.
Well, in the banking system, those, let's say, 7 out of 10 years were fantastic. The best years of my life, maybe of his life, I don't know, he's gonna tell us. But it was a very good work environment, a wonderful team. Our CEO back then, Robert Reckers, he is Daci, and Dacis are very tolerant and very friendly and very open, and he let us do whatever we thought is good to be done. So we weren't part of a big corporation. We couldn't say that. I mean, we were part of a big entrepreneurial project, and we built it as an entrepreneurial project with mistakes, with pushing limits, with somehow we remember that in the first days when we went to Banca Transilvania, we went to a restaurant. It was the house restaurant of the bank, and we were just kidding, saying, telling Robert, we have to buy something because we are too small. And what are we going to buy? I don't know, let's buy BCR. But BCR back then was having 30% of the banking system, we were having 1.4. And then Robert went to the toilet, and then he came back and he said, guys, I went to the toilet. I want to tell you something. We don't have what we need to buy BCR. So that was the best joke that he ever made. And now BCR is 6% market share smaller than Banca Transilvania. And you can see now that no dream is too big. Yeah. I mean, really nobody would ever have thought that Banca Transilvania would be bigger than BCR. How come? But anyway, the banking period, the way we did it until I left, I don't know afterwards, but until I left, it was fantastic. I left exactly when the 2008 crisis struck, and we went through a lot of storms and a lot of problems there. We solved the problems and I left, but not because I wanted to leave, because of a personal issue, because of love.
Love is not an issue.
Love is not an issue. Love is something in the air.
It's a good reason to leave.
Yeah, it's a good reason. Yeah.
I have the same opinion. Actually, I was part of 3 different organizations in banking. The first one, BRD, I was meeting the classical old school banking from Romania with some interesting learnings as well. Then ABN AMRO probably was the best school in banking that you could ever have in the local banking system, coming with all the international approach and procedures, very clear and very commercial procedures. Also the support from the Dutchies that were always there, and with the environment that was then cooking a very good professional bank. And then the entrepreneurial journey of Banca Transilvania, we were a very special or different or lucky species of being banker entrepreneurs, which is not anymore, you cannot meet anymore these days elsewhere. And a lot of projects built from the ground, some reconstruction, mixture of culture of old school banking with the new school banking. And it was, then the challenges, the Lehman Brothers crisis that affected a lot also the Banca Transilvania as a local bank was the most exposed. But it was probably that month was the most intense and the most powerful month when to recover all the flood of deposits, and it was a very intense experience with a lot of learnings. And then then I continued, and I was part also of M&A transaction. I was the CEO of Volksbank for 9-10 months when Banca BT acquired that bank. It was also for me another opportunity to learn something different than the usual banking stuff. Then because of the intense feelings and negative emotions part of an M&A integrating a team, I was lucky to start cycling, which I still do at a different level. So that was my beginning as a cyclist, in order just to get rid of negative emotions during the day. Then I think 2 years before leaving banking, I was feeling over saturation because of different cultural and historical approaches from different teams coming from different once you become a big bank or a big corporation, you have to make unfortunately, a lot of politics. That is consuming a lot of your energy and the time that you, at the end of the day, when you are just remembering what you have done during the day and what is the added value for you or for the organization, is less and less because of that. And it's also it was starting or not starting. It was more and more over-regulated, the banking world, and you are spending huge amounts of energy and money in order to put everything together. And you, as used to be a banker entrepreneur, you are just getting more and more frustrated. So that was my last part of banking experiences.
During your career so far, did you ever thought at some point about leaving Romania, maybe, I don't know, working abroad for another company or also for a bank, or I don't know, even starting your own businesses abroad? Was it an option at some point?
My wife was telling me quite frequently, let's leave it. She studied and lived for 6 years in New York. So she was injected by that culture and that approach. So I wasn't, I had, let's say, I was more conservative about it. Because of the roots here, the family, she's from Sibiu, maybe from Suica, and I was not really thinking very seriously about such a path. Although now, if I'm looking back, maybe it's one kind of regret that it's also about diversity and getting to learn more cultures and to see different habits, meeting different people. So from this perspective, yeah, it should have been a good path. But we are still...
we still have time.
We are still alive and kicking, and you never know.
Yeah, from my point of view, 2002 was the year when ABN AMRO got restructured. They hired some wonderful consultants, that told them that they should restructure their whole business. And they actually, I don't want to get into details, but in Romania, the country manager was not a country manager anymore. He was a country representative. And me, as the head of loan department, I wasn't reporting to him, I was reporting to Amsterdam. So this is the way it was restructured. And we all thought it's a mess. That was the reason why Robert left Banca Transilvania. And then to Banca Transilvania, and then we were two friends of his friends, somehow two guys very close to him, me and Sergiu Mana from BCR. He was the head of treasury, I was the head of loan products, and he said, "Guys, I need you. I want you to come with me." And then we stayed together and we thought about it, and we said, "Look, we have two options. One is to go abroad. The other one is to follow Robert. Who of us two is going to do what?" And then he said, "Look, if I go to Banca Transilvania, Sergiu, is nothing for me there. I mean, it's a small treasury. I can't do a lot of things coming from ABN AMRO, which is a big treasury. So I might go to London, and he left to London. And I said, look, I'm exactly what Robert is looking for. So I went with him and I took my chance and went for the local bank, but got a lot of power. I was his deputy, and I was the head of restructuring for the bank, and those were the seeds of my happiness and of my enthusiasm. So I didn't leave. I don't know if a lot of people left to Amsterdam those times. I have a colleague, Dan Dorner, who is now in the executive board of ABN AMRO. So he is one of the top 10 in ABN AMRO. So he was the head of Arad branch. So I could have probably done the same thing, but I don't regret that. I don't. I mean, yeah, now when my daughter is working in Den Haag, I love being there, but I love being there as a tourist and as a father, not as a working guy. I don't love what people are doing there. I mean, somehow here is a lot different.
But we got to our revenge because we acquired the platform from the Netherlands.
Yeah, we acquired the company in the Netherlands, but that's not a revenge. It's just now looks like a normal thing.
Yeah.
When did you guys first come into contact with startups and with this concept of startups and with founders? And what did you think from a banker point of view about founders at that point?
So I wasn't far away. I was far away. So I wasn't very close to the environment. Actually, when we thought about starting a business together, we thought about starting a business for innovative companies. But we never said at the beginning for IT companies. We said innovative, not technology. And then somehow Andrei insisted that technology is the thing. And he was working in the bank until then. He knew more than I knew about the whole environment. And he somehow convinced me that technology is a sector that is underdeveloped. And we have together to think about a system to fund them. Because this is what we have done in Banca Transilvania. We've built the SME sector of the banking system, and we actually developed the lending machine for SMEs, and this is how it grew a lot. And that's actually those are the roots where Banca Transilvania actually took the whole energy and grew like it is today. So somehow I didn't start it like this. And then we said, okay, let's go to all the events that we can go. Events in Cluj, events in Bucharest. It wasn't a surprise that we found a lot of acquaintances and people that we knew from good old days. We met Sergiu Neguț, that I met him at Regina Maria. I mean, nothing to do with technology, but somehow he got into technology and he grew very, very, very much there. And not only Sergiu, but all kind of other people. So it wasn't very difficult for us because somehow younger people got close to us. A business is still a business. You just read a couple of books and in 1 year, 2 years, you start to grasp the whole model. So somehow you need some knowledge from behind in order to learn what to do in the new sector. But now we are proud that we are close to that. I mean, somehow after 5 years, 6 years, we got close to technology, but we still don't master it. I mean, we needed other people that knew what technology does.
Yeah, the inception was related to a brand name that maybe you recall it because you're close to that, also to our events and to what we announced. It was called Human Finance, and it was supposed to be a digital accelerator for tech entrepreneurs, helping them with tools, digital tools, to get knowledge in order to get I still remember the poesy.
Yeah, you don't know the one from now, but you remember that one.
To get the proper financing. And actually that was our discovery journey for the sector. It took us 2 years. We invested quite some money in that human finance the digital accelerator. We still have the tools, the digital tools. They are parked since we started SeedBlink. Actually, we took them over as IPs, but we had no time about refurbish them and put them on the platform. But I think it worth a lot to have this discovery journey in a sector that we only knew from different stories or from the newspapers or from different friends that are part of it, but not directly involved ourselves so far.
Human finance, because you've mentioned this project, how did it evolve, or when did you feel that it needed to transform itself to become what SeedBlink is today, and for you to bring alongside you other founders in the team with different backgrounds and different skills, other skills than you have?
I think it was during this discovery journey. At some point, we realized that we don't have the carrot for the entrepreneurs, meaning the funding, because everybody was applauding that we want to help them with knowledge, and themselves were saying, yes, we need this kind of knowledge, but at the end of the day, they also needed the funding. And at that moment, Ionuț made let's say a survey, not survey, research of what's happening in other developed ecosystems, and then he said this equity crowdfunding concept is very popular in UK and US. Actually, he when we started the project Human Finance, so 2 years before, he mentioned the peer-to-peer lending as a potential route for us. And then we decided, let's announce it. Actually, I think you've been part of that public event that we just announced that we want to bring to Romania the concept of equity crowdfunding, and it took us another 6 months to make it happen.
But here we come to the probably one of the most difficult steps that we had to do. And we were lucky that our friends were friends with some other friends, and that's how we got close to Carmen Frunevenca, who is the head of HR in Banca Transilvania. They are very good friends, so we became very good friends. And you know, while we were in banking, we kept telling people, entrepreneurs, that when their dimension is big enough, they should get rid of the executive position and bring in some professional executives, because otherwise they are not going to succeed. If they keep everything in their hands and they don't delegate to some other knowledgeable people, they are not going to make it. But that was only an advice done by a professor. But whenever we were in the position to decide that we have to do the same thing, it was very difficult. It would have been very difficult for us unless we would have known the people we knew already. And I think that those years of lessons that we teach entrepreneurs were very good, because they were in our heads and we knew that this is what we have to do. Although, of course, it was difficult for us to leave it from our hands and to say, look, we are not good enough, because this is the truth. We are not good enough to build a scale up, to build a company that is going to scale, and a company that's going to be European immediately in 2-3 years, and focused on technology. I mean, that was only our dream, but we didn't have enough resources. We didn't know how to do it. And that's when we found Carmen. We asked her immediately to join us, and after 30 days, 20 days, we got Radu Georgescu in, and he was very happy to come in. And I think that somehow they understood what's in our heads. Because otherwise, me, if I would be Radu Georgescu, I wouldn't believe that those guys are going to give me the help. Because it doesn't happen like that. I mean, theoretically, you don't share your business with everybody else just because you think you're not good enough. But this is what happened to us. We knew that to build a scale-up, we need people that did it before, people that not only did it before, because what's happening right now, it's a miracle. I mean, the team that we created, the small team, not the big team. I don't talk about the big team, which is another miracle. But the small team that we created, it's something that it takes 3 lifetimes and you don't get to it. But we are now in our 40s, you and in my 50s, me, and we are actually living through wonderful times where we have almost every day, but not every day, but every week, we learn something important, something strategic, something operational, something about funding, something about international, something. I mean, there are things that if you think you are God, if you think you know how to do everything, you are gonna stay as a small God. You know, they say that
Baron local.
Baron local. They say if you know the difference between being a neurosurgeon and God, and they said God doesn't think that he might be a neurosurgeon. Well, the neurosurgeon thinks he's God. So this is exactly what it would have happened to us, but it didn't. So we were very lucky. And if you ask me, coming together with those 2 people and building SeedBlink as it is right now is the miracle. And that's the most difficult part, unless you get 20, 30 years of experience behind you.
You're talking about human finance and also another idea of peer-to-peer lending. Why do you think that the model that SeedBlink brought and is bringing to the market was necessary in Romania at that point? I mean, there were a few other crowdfunding platforms that were available to Romanians on the Romanian market. Why do you think that SeedBlink works and works better?
Actually, there were no equity crowdfunding platform working in Romania. Whoever wanted to do equity crowdfunding and whoever knew that this exists would have had to go to UK and to do it with Seedrs or Crowdcube. And by that time, when we looked at Seedrs and Crowdcube, they were huge. We said that if we are going to be 3% of what they are now, we are going to be big. And we looked around us, there was no law whatsoever regarding equity crowdfunding. And we somehow crafted a company that worked with the existing laws and offered people about the same thing that was offered in UK. But there were only the followers that were curious and they had enough money in order to lose them all, that came to us and invested with us and invested in the companies, because it was a real inception. I mean, if you ask me if we started too early, I would say yeah, it was very early to start at that time. On the other hand, if you don't start early, you don't have the early entrant advantage, and it's becoming more and more difficult to build a business. So somehow we went through a lot of strategic changes and decisions from the beginning. First we said we are equity crowdfunding, then we said we are not equity crowdfunding. We are a club of angels.
Syndicate.
It's a syndicating machinery. And although the clients, they didn't perceive all these changes much because they had exactly the same thing during years. But us, every year we said we are something different. And we ended up right now saying, yeah, we're crowdfunding. So yeah, we are crowdfunding, but not only this.
With a twist.
With a twist, because we are going to build the other product that is Nimity, that is extremely important right now. And then SeedBlink is going to work together with Nimity very well. So we don't have to say that SeedBlink is not an equity crowdfunding because we are not going to get funding for SeedBlink. So we have to talk about the whole business. But somehow it was very incipient what we started.
Coming back to the original question, what makes us different, if I understood correctly, it's there were several milestones, but I think first it was the kind of new concept for Romania that brought together a lot of early adopters. I think probably more important than that was the let's say the awareness and the trust that people or investors allocated to the four founders of SeedBlink, the four of us, and I think it was critical. It still is, and I think also the specialization in tech also helped us because it makes us different as compared to most of the platforms still available today. And I think in general the specialization and focus help you to become better and better in what you are focusing on. And of course all the development of new products, the team that came along with us, and everything that brought SeedBlink this after 3.5 years.
But I wanna tell you something to be proud of something. We never talked about it, but I think last week there was an event in Barcelona, EU startups, and there were present only 4 equity crowdfunding companies: Seeders, Crowdcube, WeFounder, and SeedBlink. And they were part of the same panel, and Carmen was part of that panel. And then they made a poll, EU startups, where they said, which equity crowdfunding platform do you enjoy more? And there was these 4. And they ended up after 20 days with us having 58%, Seeders 22, Crowdcube 20, and 5% WeFounder.
WeFounder is from US, that's why.
Yeah, so this is the result of I would say 5 years of work, but maybe it's 4 careers of 30 years plus, actually. But it's a good result.
Anyhow, we still have a gap measuring the volumes, but yeah, we are building also on that. On the other hand, we are very proud that our supporters are more engaged than theirs. So probably that's one of the reasons that the poll was looking like that.
How difficult was it for you in the beginning to explain what SeedBlink is doing, also to founders, if there was a need to do that with founders, with small investors, because you don't need to have a lot of money, or at least the money that an angel has to invest in a startup on SeedBlink. How did you get people on board with you?
We were lucky of our track record, the 4 of us, that generated at least attention about what we are building. We were lucky to have your support and media support. For probably at the beginning we were some 2 eccentric former bankers that were trying to build something in the tech world, and then step by step I think we kept this interest alive. And then when Carmen and Radu joined, it was much more than that. And it's like I think it was the same as for the other. Besides of this support, is the same with any other startup. You have to talk as much as possible in different whatever environments about what you are building, and it's about procrastination with a new product and new market that you are building. It's even more difficult. But yeah, it's a construction, and it happens step by step.
If you ask me, I told you we were through a lot of different stages. And we started in the first year doing all we could do because we weren't in a position to be picky. We covered 67% of the whole market in the first year. But those were 26 companies. I mean, it wasn't 200 companies. But we actually took everything that came to us and we arranged them somehow and we worked with them in order to make them look nice. And I think we have a merit back there because a lot of them succeeded. Now we have good names like Sanopas, Kinderpedia, Code of Talent, Yalok, all kind of names that came to us back then because they didn't have any other solution. And we worked with them and we made them succeed. But then we started to see things in a different way, and volume was not very important anymore, but quality. And we started to look more and more at quality. And we started to work with bigger companies, and we started to work with foreign companies. And then we went to Europe, and now we have maximum 30% of the companies coming from Romania and 70% from the whole Europe, the countries we are in and some countries around them. And this is the offer. This is what we give to the investors. And now we had about 95% of the investors were Romanians, and last month 45% were Romanians and 55% were foreign. I mean, and is that sort of business that you don't talk to each and every investor, maybe once when they enroll, but then you don't talk to them anymore. Your representation are the companies that you are listing, and you are offering things, and it's like fishing, you know. You throw the fishing net into the water, and then you take it out and you see what's in there. And sometimes there is lots of fish, sometimes there is nothing. But it's exactly like that. And it depends on weather, depends on the coffee that they had in the morning, depends on the war, depends on the crisis, depends on SVB, depends on all
holidays,
all sorts of things. But you learn to put everything together and to wait for a longer period of time and to measure every quarter, not every month or every day, because if you measure every day, you get mad. I mean, and somehow you told me, how did we get to the investors? Like this. I mean, we did things and they came closer and closer and closer. And sometimes not close enough. Sometimes probably we could have done a lot more. I'm sure we could have done a lot more. But we did this sort of variations, and now again we came back to Romania, and we invest a lot in Romania like we did it before, and we have the other countries, because somehow we forgot about Romania and we went into Europe thinking that we are the kings of the European Union. So somehow everything what we did in the company was the offer, and the clients came to that offer or didn't. So somehow we didn't do much of corporate things, unless only Andrei, who runs around all the time, and but he talks to small important people, not to a lot of retail people, and then somehow they come to us.
I remember that about procrastination, we were somehow lucky with the pandemics and the lockdown, because at least at the beginning, in the first half a year, people were staying in front of their computers, and Zoom was pumping up, and we benefited in this way about getting their attention for a new product or new market that we were building. So yeah, that was a bit lucky from this perspective.
Talking about again about investors and startups and founders, how important do you think that it is to put startups, to open them to another kind of investors, not just those that want to be like institutional investors or even angels that want also to be more involved in the business, and that only needed a platform that gives them trust, and opens an array of startups, and you know that you can trust the platform, you can trust the startups that are selected there.
You know, there was a market, and there still is part of it like that, who disqualify equity crowdfunding, saying that those are not smart money and you should get only smart money. I mean, this is some theory that some books are expanding it, saying that you only need smart money. In the end, you know, you need money. And if you are smart enough, part of the money comes with knowledge. But you shouldn't just go and look for all the money to have knowledge attached, because this way you lose a lot of not only energy but a lot of negotiation. I mean, you can balance the two kind of funding and have the right package that suits each and every company. So somehow we still struggle with that. We are not that influenced by it anymore. Maybe because in the last 6 to 9 months VC funding was not that available as it was before, and pre-seed and seed funding in equity crowdfunding, it's available. It's still available if you know how to do it. So somehow we got a lot of better companies right now than we got before. So we were telling some partners of ours that the crisis is not going to be bad for us, because this is what is going to happen, and this is what is going to happen for the future, because actually somehow all-time VCs are not that attractive anymore. And this mix is going to happen, and this mix is going to become natural, and everybody until a certain stage, until Series A, Series B, are going to access both crowd and VCs. Because, you know, it's about offering investors what they need. It's not about offering startups, because startups, they get the same thing. They get one line in their cap table, and it's up to us to put people behind the one line. But investors, they need two kinds of things. First thing, to put big amounts of money, if they have it, into VCs, and not knowing anything what's happening there, only from a report every portfolio report every quarter or something, or to have it in front of their eyes all the time and to be able to choose the way they love it and the way their thesis, their internal thesis are. And that's a new way of investing, which is somehow going to be the future of investing. This is what I think.
I have to say that we have our internal debates and brainstorming how to make this power of the crowd stronger and bringing benefits and added value to the founders of the startups. And there are different ways to do it. Now we have to make it better. We acquired a tool, a community tool that is bringing all kinds of reports and news from the life of the companies to their pool of investors. On the other hand, we want to make founders more active or more vivid in getting the benefits of the pool of their new ambassadors. And that is, we have some nice stories or successful stories about it. And if you are more pragmatic in the communication with your investors and asking them very concrete things or simple things about who can put me through with the head of, I don't know, financial department from an enterprise, or who can recommend me a good sales manager in a certain market, then you automatically have instead of having just one or two supporters from your VCs, from your backers, you can automatically have another 50 maybe that could help you with some very concrete things that you need for your business. So yeah, on the other hand, we are completing the VC approach. We are not competing anyhow. and we have investors that are LPs in VCs and that are investing directly also with us, and sometimes maybe also in the same company that VC has in their portfolio, and they want a bigger stake as an individual on a specific company.
We don't have to make the mistake that we're already doing, talking about SeedBlink as it is right now, because SeedBlink is already something else. And the way we thought before that we are going to build some tools, the acceleration tools, and then the funding machine. Now that we have the funding machine, we invested a lot in and worked a lot for it in order to make it work. Now we came back and we're investing in the products that are going to be features for the people that need money. And we soft launched this Nimity thing. I'm calling it a thing because we say it's all things equity. And we actually trying to enlarge what we're doing and to make Nimity a gate to enter into this ecosystem, building your cap table, your shareholders group, building your ESOPs. You know what an ESOP is an option plan for your employees, and then building the way you are going to get funding. One path is going to be SeedBlink, which is going to be the crowd path. We're gonna have the networking path, which is going to go to the partner VCs that we have, and maybe we're gonna have all kind of other paths that we don't talk about right now. But somehow whoever wants funding gets into the portal and finds everything that he needs in order to get funding, because now there is SeedBlink and other companies like SeedBlink. There is Carta and there is Ledgy that are doing what Nimity is doing right now, but they don't have a SeedBlink. So they don't have a financing tool in order to put them together and to make them look like an ecosystem. So it's happening right now. We're still focusing on SeedBlink, and at least me, I'm going to focus 100% on selling to people and developing the tools. But some other side of the company is working for Nimity. They have a beta product already, and it's going to be launched at the end of May somehow. And I'm sure that we are going to look a lot better and a lot more complex than only working our heads with SeedBlink.
I want to go back a bit to your banking years and your perspective as former bankers. We see nowadays there are a couple of years already since we started seeing banks getting more involved with startups, creating programs for startups. BCR is an example. Raiffeisen, they also have the SME component, but also the tech startup component. What do you think as former bankers now about such initiatives? Were they long overdue? And also your perspective from your careers. Ionuț, your career as a banker is shorter than Andrei's. So Andrei,
I'll let him tell you the truth.
While you were still working in banks, did you see these kind of initiatives? Were banks and bankers coming to startup founders? Were they willing to help them, or?
First, I have to praise the banks that want to be closer to this ecosystem. Even if they are making
he wanted to be an ambassador, remember.
Even they just want to make a PR exercise out of it, but somehow even with the PR, they are it's a step in front, not behind. So I think it's an added value for the ecosystem. I just met a small bank that want to be more involved in also with loans to these kind of players, also relying on different guarantees from the state. But these initiatives, I think they are the beginning. At least me, I remember that I have to erase it took me 2 or 3 years to erase all the principles of granting loans to the companies when I wanted to understand how it's working the funding ecosystem for the tech startups. So it will be difficult, and you as a bank, you are I think not too much motivated as a big or ecosystem or a structure that you have as a bank. You are a big animal, and you better prefer to stay in your comfort zone and not to report too many new things to the central bank that will get you will finalize in questioning you. Why are you doing that? What is your covering ratio? What are the guarantees? You have to adapt or to rescript the norms for certain products that are not in the classical part. So it will be a difficult task. I'm not really very optimistic about seeing real progress on that. On the other hand, as I said, with investing in acceleration program and bringing startups to different environments and exposing them, I think that's a very valuable benefit for the ecosystem.
But I didn't want to be an ambassador, so I'm going to be more blunt about it. It's one thing to sponsor an accelerator, as BCR is doing and the Raiffeisen is doing. They're not their machines. There are external Innovix and some labs. Innovation labs. And there's another thing to work with them, to do banking with them. And what happened in US is the Silicon Valley Bank, which is the first and one and only bank that wanted to be a bank dedicated to the technology sector. And it was very well received by all the technology companies, very well received, because they were answering all the questions that these guys were asking. And
for 40 years, I think. The history.
Actually, the last 5 years were very much intense. After the pandemics, after 2019, their asset grew from 70 billion to 180 billion. So that was the moment, those years were the moment when people understood that this bank does what they need. And they went with their hearts and with everything they had, and all the rounds that were raised were deposited with them. So that's how they gathered more than 100 billion in 3 years. But having 100 billion in 3 years is not something that makes you very happy when the interest rates are very low, because you cannot make money from a spread between ask and bid. And they just kept the money, and they paid 0.1% to them. But then inflation came, the central bank raised the interest rates, and they had to diversify. And although their 100 billion were invested in T-bills, they couldn't sell the T-bills. And when they wanted to sell the T-bills, the whole market crashed, and this was discounted a lot. And then they tried to raise some money, and some people heard about it and told everybody, you have to run away with your money. So that's a recipe that doesn't work. It really doesn't work for banks, where they wanted to give some loans, but they couldn't, because the startups didn't need the loans. So somehow, in order to have a bank that works with startups, somebody should somehow invent something else. If those would be the big banks, I don't know, maybe it could be the big banks, but having different projects, because otherwise they export all their legacies and all their knowledge into the new products, which doesn't work. So I don't think they are going to be the big banks. I think that for technology, people would need a different way of doing what was called banking before. And that's going to be a big invention, and whoever is going to do that is going to be very rich. But we don't know who. What we know is that SVB got bankrupt. A couple of other banks which were doing more or less the same thing got bankrupt. There is the crypto phenomenon, which we are not very fond of it, and there are a couple of banks that went into crypto and went bankrupt. So for the time being, it's like those hotels where I asked one expert once, what do you do in order to have a profitable hotel? And the guy said, that hotel should go bankrupt 3 times, and the fourth time is going to be all right. And I said, should we wait? Yeah, you should. If you want to fund them, to finance them, wait 3 times to go bankrupt.
Because the value is going less and less when you buy it.
Yeah, but not only that, but people learn, and then they somehow know what mistakes they shouldn't do. And it's the same with the banks, with the technology banks. They have to do a lot of mistakes and they have to fail until somebody tells them, look, this is the way you should do it. So I don't know what's going to happen, but these banks that you are talking about, they're not helping.
So the traditional banking model, banking system at this point doesn't work for startups, at least. For SMEs, for other companies?
It does only for transactions, but for transactions, there are a lot of payment systems. You don't need the bank anymore.
I was going to ask you if you were still bankers and work for a bank, if you would found SeedBlink, if you would give money to
what I didn't
the
tell
founders.
you is that since I left Banca Transilvania, I was part of 3 boards, 4 years in a row. So 12 years, actually until 2018, I was part of a banking board. So I was still a banker somehow, more elevated sort of a banker, but. At the level of the board, you try to influence them to be a lot more modern. You try to influence them to be eco-friendly, to be greener, to have some very strict rules. And it wasn't difficult for me because I represented the BRD and they had their own set of rules. No cigarettes, no weapons, no whatever harming the ecosystem or the people, the humanity. So somehow the banking system is going slowly towards that ideal. But if you want the bank to migrate to technology, I don't know how that could happen. I really don't know. So
only having either a small bank that is focusing from the beginning and learning by doing, and they have enough, let's say, patience from their shareholders to experiment and to see what are the products.
But is that there? I mean,
no, but just talking about potential
I don't know.
solutions. And on the other hand, if they make a satellite just to maybe it's working only if they let them totally independent to focus on this ecosystem and also have enough long run approach and to see what are the learning curves that they are doing with this ecosystem.
But talking about this, there are these days some companies, some startups that are doing more or less what we are doing, but revenue based. So they are only the capital is only repaid from their revenues whenever they have the revenues. So this is sort of a combination between debt and equity. There are other companies, the peer-to-peer companies, that are doing debt. I mean, they are giving loans to companies and they're having them back and having their own ratios, and they are not banks. I mean, somehow you don't need a big bank in order to help them with the services. You need a fintech. You need a big fintech or a lot of big fintechs or a lot of small fintechs that are having enough resources. And you need banks and pension funds and the placeholders of the money in order to give you resources. So somehow, I don't think that banking is going to be the solution solver. It might be that fintech are going to be the winners.
You've mentioned fintechs and you brought me to another question I had for you. when talking about SeedBlink and the startups that are listed on the platform or were listed along these years on the platform, how did you see them evolve? Talking about verticals and industries, how did you at some point, I don't know, you had a lot of fintechs, now you see more I don't know, climate tech, let's say, or med tech. How did you see?
We were very agnostic from the beginning. We had our periods when pandemic started, and there were lots of medical startups, medtechs around us. I mean, I think we financed 7 of them, and we probably had 50 asking for their rounds. Then they disappeared. There were only a couple of them that survived. I don't know about the others. They transformed into AI-based companies where they have millions of pictures, and they analyze millions of pictures, and then they get to recommend to doctors all kind of things like radiotherapy, radiology, these sort of tools. But those simple things like telemedicine, those disappeared, and I don't see them as impactful companies right now. Then we have the security companies, and people were very keen about them. And I think they did quite a good job until last year, where people started to understand what was happening, and they were not very fashionable anymore, because they were really automizing some processes. But for companies, that would have meant that using the technology would mean that I don't need 3 or 5 people. But that was it. I mean, it wasn't a boom. It wasn't something that rediscovered yeah. So, and then we started to get whatever was interesting. And I don't know, I can't say that we have a dominant line vertical right now. They change all the time, but there's no dominant in Romania right now, or in Europe, as far as I'm concerned.
But we made a survey with our investors, and they are still very interested in deep tech in general. Of course, these days very trendy is AI.
It's a new thing again.
Yeah, and whatever we hear also from existing companies, startups that want to integrate ChatGPT in their product. So yeah, that's a trendy one. Energy tech, it's also because of what's happening in our environment. It generates a lot of interest. Also, the Brussels authorities want to boost the green energy companies, and there are certain programs for.
And we thought clean tech is going to be a big boost, but it wasn't. It's not until now. Maybe it's going to be.
If they don't prove they have a viable product, then yeah, it is not necessarily a good investment opportunity, at least at the level of the investors that are our investors that are assessing these opportunities. And we had a lot of edutech during the times.
There was another boom with edutech.
Yeah. And in the pandemic, also the products that were supposed to digitalize the companies, the enterprises, were also booming.
From your experience, and I'm sure that you can make some predictions, how do you see this ecosystem, this startup ecosystem, evolving in Romania? And also comparing it to what's happening in the region and maybe elsewhere in Europe, because you also have some data since SeedBlink is also expanded in the region.
as compared with when we discovered this ecosystem 5 years ago, it was I think at the inception phase. At that moment, the first funds were coming out in the market. Now, I think at least the infrastructure for funding the startups is clearer. You have the players, and startups are somehow having this knowledge where to go, correlated to their maturity phase. And I think also the interaction that at least I'm feeling with different founders. I just had some interactions with the new group of startups at an accelerator. They are more focused on, and they are asking very concrete questions in order to get the answer. So I think it's clearly an evolution in general of the ecosystem. And on the other hand, if I am to make a comparison with the other countries that we are active in, I think we are somehow in the we are several years behind with Bulgaria because of the VC funding they had 5 years before us, and they have their fund of funds that I think they have right now 17 or 18 different VC funds, which is not necessary for a small market, the idealistic number of players. On the other hand, they gained a lot of knowledge, and also the startups benefited of it. Greece is also in the phase that after the recession they had, their government was putting a lot of focus on the innovation ecosystem. They brought money to the table, and they are also in an emerging phase, and good startups we see from the region. And on the other hand, Benelux is clearly a different world compared to Eastern Europe in terms of money available there. The level of startups, they have a different valuation, at least because of the money available. But I think not necessarily the level or the disruption the startups are bringing to the market is different than the Eastern Europe. Maybe we have an advantage of having more skillful IT guys here, and also the valuations being more decent. Probably it's better. And what I heard, we just started to focus on the Baltics, and the VC that is quite present there told us that these entrepreneurs, these founders from the Baltics they never had an issue in negotiating the valuation of the company. They are more on with their feet on the ground in terms of expectations, and they are more business oriented. So it's an interesting environment to look at more from our perspective.
Yeah, Mr. Ambassador, thank you for your opinion. Now, I think it would be nice for you to get a very good answer like Andrei was giving you, because it's good for writing an article but the truth from my point of view is that we expected it to be a lot bigger, the whole sector. We expected that funding would be a lot more available. We expected that the number of startups would be tenfold than what it is right now. Because this was and still is the potential that you see in the market. So there is huge potential, but the potential is not transforming into physical evidence because of legislation, because of systems, actually because of lack of legislation, because of lack of systems, because of lack of money, because of lack of funds. So what we see right now, we see US, we see Silicon Valley, and we see Texas, Arizona, which are evolving right now, where the people are eager to do new things, because these are the people that went from east to the west and were really entrepreneurs and wanted to do things. We see people with money, we see universities which are focused on technology, and we see huge companies around. So this is the country we are competing with. And that country, there are, I don't know, 50 states or whatever, and only one big legislation. In Europe, we are 27 states and 27 legislations. 27 corporate laws, if you can imagine. Not only 2 laws, corporate laws are the same. I mean, you cannot do anything unless you put them together. I mean, from my point of view, if Europe wants to be something and to mean something in technology, they have to adapt this. They have to adapt the corporate laws. They have to adapt the stock exchanges to make them look the same. To have a big one, not 20 small ones and 5 emerging and 5 American and 5 Chinese.
But they started with the equity crowdfunding regulation.
They started with equity crowdfunding. Then there is China, South Korea, and Japan, which again are free countries. And things are going fantastic there. That's why you see the huge funds in China. They have huge amounts of money, and they really develop Tencent and all kind of huge technology company. But why? Because they are centralized and it's easier for them to invest in this. We are Romania. We think about what we are doing in Romania. What to do in Romania? We had 400 million from PNRR, and somehow they said that they're not going to allocate it to IT because nobody knows what IT is. Come on. I mean, this is the
It was one personal opinion.
It was one personal opinion of the main person who allocates the money. I don't care about that. I mean, it could have been anything else, but the thing is that the money is not there. We can't touch any money. The funds cannot touch any money. There are only a couple of people that are taking 20 million and making equity.
This is in the context when 2 of the biggest funds here were at the they are at the end of the investment phase with their initial funds. So it's a gap in the market.
Yeah, if you look right now and you search funding in Romania, there is less than it used to be 4 years ago, which is unbelievable. And for me, it's difficult to understand. And we were extremely lucky that we went to Europe. And we didn't stay only here in Romania because Romania was killing it, the whole business. I mean, this borderless thing for technology is the most important thing. And yeah, companies are free to go everywhere, but they only go where the money is. They go to UK, they go to US, and Europe stays without them. I mean, they just leave Europe. And this is a big problem for everybody because of potential, because everybody talks about the huge potential of the technology sector. If this is going to happen, we might have something here in Europe, not only US and China and the East. So somehow we are frustrated about what's happening right now. Mr. Ambassador is very nice saying that it's here and there, but actually we would expect a lot more.
No, it's always it's two angles. Then you can see if we compare with 5 years ago, it's clearly an evolution of the ecosystem. Where we could have been right now if there was more focus and more money available and interest, then yeah, it's a different story. But we can look in Europe. There is another positive, actually, the spectacular example of France that was having, and Mr. Macron was his own project probably, and they France born I don't know how many tens of unicorns in the last 5 years because of that.
But in the end, all of us don't know IT. I mean, we know more agriculture, Horeca. I mean, it's true.
And for my last question, I want to take you back to your friendship. You have a long-standing friendship. You are business partners. When did you work together at Abanet? Did you actually work together, or were you just got acquainted there at some point?
We have a very nice story that links us together, and it might be that we understood it differently. So it's good that we tell it separately. So I was the head of loan products in Bucharest. He was the branch manager in Sibiu. And we were not bankers because we didn't know what a bad loan is. Because all our loans were good.
In ABN AMRO.
Because the guys in Amsterdam was guarding us in order to give only good loans. And somehow he gave a loan to a Philip Morris distributor. And normally Philip Morris distributors were full of money, but that guy from Sibiu wanted to buy some land, some real estate. They wanted to develop something. And he made a mistake and he remained without money. And he said, you know what, ABN AMRO, I don't have the money to pay you back. And he had the first ever bad loan in ABN AMRO, me being the head of loan products. And I remember that, of course we were kidding, but I've talked to him and I said, look, we are friends, we are very good colleagues, but I want to tell you something. As long as I'm going to be as head of loan products here in ABN AMRO, you are not going to give any other loan, never. And this is how we got friends. And then, yeah, there is another one that I don't know if I should say it or not, but his wife was my employee. And I sent her to Sibiu in order to visit Compa.
Not his employee, it was in his team.
He wasn't reporting to me.
Yeah.
She wasn't my employee, she was reporting to me. And I sent her to Sibiu. And when she came back, she fell in love. And
you're kind of an honorary godfather.
I am, but not somehow, but theoretically and practically, he is my godfather. So it's all mixed up.
I thought there are different angles.
Different angles. Yeah.
But that bad loan from Sibiu, which was a spectacular one, the collateral was the pieces of land they were bought. That actually in 2 years they were doubling their value. So
I told you
more than enough.
We didn't know what that meant. I mean, we just saw the event happening, and it was a crisis.
But we have written history with that loan in ABN AMRO.
Do you think that human finance and now SeedBlink would have still appeared if you were to do it one without the other?
No, I stayed 10 years and I didn't do anything about it. No, really, I didn't feel like doing it. I thought it's impossible. And I was waiting for him to do it. We were talking for years.
Well, not necessarily about human finance, but
about something.
I think first you proposed a project called Colibri. It was supposed to be
more or less the same.
IFN, or something, to finance the entrepreneurs in general terms. But no, that without this bringing us together, probably no, it couldn't have happened.
If you were at some point to leave SeedBlink, would you start another business? Again, one without the other, or both of you?
Haven't imagined such a scenario. Now, if you ask me, I cannot imagine. No,
He's younger, so he could start something. I don't. No, for me, it's the last one. Really, I mean, I to start a business, to grow it, and to make it not profitable but mature, it takes a lifetime, and it's so much stressful that you need some other people around you to make it happen. So if you ask me, it's so goddamn difficult that I wouldn't start anything else. Maybe if I would be 30, 40, maybe I would. But I am saying maybe just to justify that I wouldn't. But probably we would end this when I would be 55, 60. So what would I start at 60? Maybe advising people, maybe talking to young guys. But there are in your lifetime there are all time of steps, and probably this is the step when you should develop your own business, and then after 55 you should make a different one and help other young people to do their own projects. This is the way I see philosophy.
Well, let's not ignore the startups that we are funding and coming with disruptive solutions, maybe also for the dynamics of the ages, and maybe we'll feel like being in 30.
But not in the first position. Maybe somewhere behind something, helping, but not doing it.
Yeah, but you never know how
Sure.
the boost will come from different innovative solutions.
Sure.
Maybe funded by SeedBlink.